Hey, hey, hey. Thanks for being in the REC experience. I'm your host, Jas Takhar, with your girl, Laura Elto Stewart, and this is the season premiere.
Woo! Of
Season
the new year.
5. New decade, new year.
New season.
5 seasons, Toe. What do you think?
I don't even know where the time goes.
I know. And we brought in a big guest, very special.
did.
Obviously, for the premiere, we had to go all out, and we brought in the president of the Ontario Real Estate Association, Mr. Tim Hudak, who really just was an amazing guest. Like, we only got 30 minutes with the guy.
Yeah.
And we were both, and Simos, so we were all like,
we need more. We got to have him back for sure. I mean, most of you probably know this fella from his time in politics. But man, what a speaker, what a gentleman. Great all-around guy.
Spoke about the new rules, essentially in... for the Real Estate Council of Ontario, so kind of the police for realtors. There was...
The Realtor Popo.
The Realtor Popo. That's a good one. There was a Real Estate Brokers Act, which was done back in 2002, so 18 years ago. Can we say a little outdated?
That's so sad.
Just
that
a little
2002,
outdated.
that was 18 years ago.
But with Tim's help, there's a new act in place. It's called TRESA, and Tim went very, very deep into all the new rule changes for realtors. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I actually think it's a lot more important to make note how it affects consumers.
Yes, definitely.
Right? He also touched a little bit on some of the new, essentially new rules and regulations that the Ontario Real Estate Association brought towards the Ontario government for housing supply, a big problem we're having here in Ontario.
Well, we always talk about it here on the show. We keep putting these, systems and regulations in place to work on the demand side when really we have to start tackling the supply.
It's just simple. That's what we need to touch. Before we allow our viewers and listeners to get into the episode, and if you have not yet subscribed to our podcast, I don't know what you're waiting for. There's 5 seasons, close to 100.
You have a lot of
catching up
footage and audio to go back to catch up
like
on.
Almost 90 to 100 episodes.
Yeah,
so go
we're
back,
at 90, I think, now.
Make sure you subscribe if you're watching, and if you're listening while you're driving, taking your dog for a walk, or running on the treadmill. Follow us or subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. But before we let our viewers get in to the rest of the episode, tell me a little bit about how you kind of spent your holidays and stuff, Toe.
Oh, well, 2 weeks off. Well, not really. Well, we don't really take 2 weeks off here.
Yeah. We try.
We took 3 days off.
Yeah.
We were here till 8 p.m. on the 23rd.
We had coffees.
All day. That was our biggest day. 6 coffees or something that day. So that brought us right until the evening. Took 23rd, 24th, 25th off. I think I came back on the 27th. So 4 days off, and then a couple days on, 4 days off. I was up north skiing, visiting with friends, family. My grandmother, I call her Oma. She was
Shout
in
out
town
to
from Montreal.
Oma.
She's 90. Going to be 97 years old in
awesome.
February. She
and still
is
kicking and active.
she's so with it. And she wanted
awesome.
to come meet her grandkids. My brother has almost a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so she came to visit them. And she just, told lots of stories and just sat and listened and tried to get everything out of her that I could. Her tip for anybody who's looking to live to 97 at least.
Awesome.
Just keep moving. That's all she said.
Just keep moving.
She stretches every day.
That's
she goes on
awesome.
a walk every day, and she reads every day.
Well, so glad you got some time with the family. Not a lot of you guys know because I don't speak about it a lot. I got 2 little boys, got some time with them as well, 6 and 4. So that was nice to kind of just get some time. You mentioned coffees, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because for 2020, we're starting something new. If you go to coffeewithjazz.com, so that's www.coffeewithjazz.com, you can set up a 20-minute phone call, 20-minute video call, or a 30-minute face-to-face, essentially to talk about what your real estate action plan for 2020.
Yeah, what are your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? We call it the checkup from the neck up.
I love it. Little checkup for the neck up.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's watching that's a realtor, mortgage person, any business, we are wanting to do a lot of collaboration moving into 2020. So just hit us up. We don't know what it's going to look like. It could be possibly getting on as a guest on the podcast, doing some videos together. Really, how can we bring you more value? That's what we're all about. And we really want to scale it now. So reach out to us. It's coffeewithjazz.com. As always, Toe, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Decade.
Happy New Decade.
Thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Shout out from to the media squad. Thank you for everything you guys and gals do from the perspective of 2019, but really moving forward. We got some really cool guests coming up. We started with the president, Mr. Tim Hudak. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show.
Definitely.
Thank
and guess
you.
what?
What's that?
Let's go crush 2020.
Well, let's go. Crush it. 2020 is ours. Guys, as always, leave us some feedback. Your support is overwhelming. We love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Enjoy, guys.
Awesome.
REC Experience presents Real Estate, Entrepreneurship, Leadership with your host, Jas Takhar. The REC Experience podcast is now on air.
Simos and I generally need to get prepared when we have presidents in our rooms because we like to really host someone like of the stature of Mr. Tim Hudak.
Whoa,
and thank you so
man.
much for coming in today.
That's why you have all the security around.
That's why we have all the people in the room here today. For our few listeners and viewers that have not heard or seen you before, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your origin story, and obviously your political background.
Origin story.
Yeah,
I got bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yeah, well, it's so funny you said that, Tim, because I'm a huge comic guy, right? And so that's why I always say the whole origin story. My guys know. So give it to us, my man.
Well, that's it. Well, listen, say, Jas, Simos, thanks a lot for having me on the show. It's great seeing you guys. I just wanted to wish everybody a great start to 2020. Hope you had a great Christmas and all that.
Thank you. Yes.
So,
yes.
Background for me, well, you know what? I got elected into public office when I was 27 years old. And Simos, you're looking at me. You're saying, "Oh, that was just 5 years ago." That's why
I was going to say 2 years ago.
Trust
me, my hair loss tells the story.
So, my origin story was that I put up my hand to run for the Progressive Conservative Party down in Niagara, where I was from. In an election, everybody thought I was going to lose, and they thought Mike Harris would never be premier and all that. So it's one of those stories in life, right? Take a chance, volunteer for the tough job. Don't be shy to be the one that takes the step forward.
Did I hear that properly? Sorry, Tim. You said 27, right?
I was 27.
Wow,
yeah.
So just young. Okay.
I was I just finished my master's in economics, University of Washington. I was back home in Niagara. And I thought I was going to lose, but I said, you know what the hell? I'll put my name forward. I'll impress people. I'll try to work hard.
Okay.
And then maybe I'll get a job, as a staff member to a cabinet minister or a premier one day.
I like that you thought, let me start as high as possible and let's see where it kind of filters down. I love it.
Yeah, and then, because my riding that I ran in had not voted Progressive Conservative since before I was born. So it was a long shot. And then about 3 or 4 days left in the campaign, I was like, holy crap, I might actually win this. What's going on now, right? Like, you just felt it, like you guys do, right? When you're working with people, you can see it in their eyes, more positive message. You had momentum. Simos, exactly. And then on election night, I remember very clearly, I stopped at Wendy's. I was a Wendy's fan. I got my, double cheeseburger and
I'm
my
a spicy chicken guy.
fries.
Okay,
Are you? Yeah. I don't know if the spicy chicken was around back in 1995. It was still an egg, I think, at that point in time. So, and I remember walking in my office, my campaign office, and everybody cheers like, whoa. They said, you won. Right? And so I won in a squeaker. I only won by 1,200 votes. I got 38% of the vote in a three-way race.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible honor. So, you make your most of your opportunities. So I worked hard. I tried to develop a reputation as somebody who delivers. If you give me a task, I do it well. And I won 5 more elections after that. So I was the MPP for Niagara for 21 years.
Wow.
Leader of the PC party. I had the honor then of moving from that position to become the CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association 3 years ago last month. It was December of 2016.
Well, we appreciate all that you do. Really quickly, when you made that transition, like why into real estate? Did you like real estate? Was it just... Did you know a lot of people in the industry? Like, what made you transition into real estate?
really, just appreciate that. Really, 2 things. I always had a very good relationship with realtors and with the Ontario Real Estate Association, OREA, as well. believe it or not, in 2002, you guys were just in high school, maybe. I was actually
You're good for my ego, man. I need you around more often.
Am I wrong? I was actually the cabinet minister who brought forward the previous legislation, REBA, the Real Estate Business Brokers Act. I was the guy who did that. I was the minister, brought it through the assembly, made it pass on a law back in 2002. It was considered groundbreaking at the time why the provinces copied it. So, from that day, I always had a good relationship, really strong with realtors, admire, respect. I mean, they work so hard. I see them. The other part was, Jas, when I'm back home my riding, like you look at, who's helping run the hockey club, who's involved with the school council, who's involved with their temple church guard water, right? Like it's always realtors who are leading the way. They're the first ones to say, I'm going to help out, roll up my sleeves, get my hands dirty. Impressed by that. And the third thing, I was always motivated by home ownership. I always felt that when I was a leader of the Progressive Conservatives, it was always part of my plan. How do we help create more homeowners in the province? Because I know when I bought my first home in 2002, it changed me as a man. I cared more about my community. I cared more about my neighbors. So there's my three things that brought me to where I am today.
Amazing.
OREA. For obviously our realtors and our mortgage listeners and viewers know who and what OREA stands for, but for the public, what is OREA? What does it do, and what is it to really start off with?
So OREA is the Ontario Real Estate Association, OREA. We represent the almost 80,000 by the end of last year.
Wow.
We had about 80,000 members in the province. That is the largest professional association at a provincial level anywhere in Canada, by the way. And
it's pretty high, even comparing it to North America, we're up there.
Number 4. We are.
Yeah, I knew we were really high up there, right?
Yeah. Any guesses the 3 that are above us?
I'm gonna say, I have to say
Florida has to be.
Florida, yeah.
Chicago.
Well, state level, right?
I apologize. Yes.
California.
California and New York.
2 out of 3. Oh, not New York. You guys were on a roll.
California, Florida. Where's the other population?
Yeah. Think cowboy hats.
Oh, Texas.
Yeah.
Well, that was Cowboys fan too.
Oh, no.
I should have known
Bills
that.
So we're number 4 in North America. And so we are, our primary responsibilities are we advocate for realtors, the people that are working hard for every day. Mm-hmm. Our major mission is to make sure that we help create that next generation Ontario homeowners, good, healthy housing supply, a thriving market for our members. Advocacy is a big part of that. We do services for realtors, primarily the standard forms that realtors use every day, the common language in every corner of the province that helps protect our members and people that they're working for. We think of every situation out there. We got your back. Mm-hmm. And then third, we do leadership training. So both you guys, you're leaders in the profession. If you want to hone your skills when it comes to running a not-for-profit, a volunteer organization, you want to run for a local real estate board, you want to run for city council or be an MPP, we invest in our members to help make even bigger difference in grassroots communities.
Now, and OREA is all part of the organized real estate that is here in the province with real estate, and it works really closely with Real Estate Council of Ontario as well as the Canadian Real Estate Association.
Yeah, you got it. It's basically the realtors listening today and people who are interested in real estate. There's one called CREA, C-R-E-A, not the country, but CREA. They work out of Ottawa, so they do the national stuff. They do realtor.ca. Where OREA walk through that, and then your local board, like Toronto Real Estate Board, the Niagara Association of Realtors, where I'm from, there are 37 of those in the province. And then you mentioned RICO, they're the referee, they're the judge. So somebody breaks the rules of code ethics, they're the enforcer in the system. And I know we'll talk about this later. We felt that we could do a much better job giving RICO more tools when it comes to discipline, make sure we raise the bar and professional standards. So they're a partner with us in that respect as well.
Now, you guys just met each other at a conference recently. Simos, talk about what brought you to that conference, my man? And then obviously you came back and said, we need to have Tim on.
Yes.
Crazy schedule.
So I actually WhatsApp messaged you
right
from the
away.
conference.
Yeah.
I was like, this is too much. I didn't realize how much stuff is happening. Should we bring him on the show? Should I try to bring him on the show?
Yeah.
You said absolutely. And I reached out to you in the afternoon.
Yeah, we made that happen really quickly.
So
Shout
this
out to your
was-
team, by the way. Just amazing team to work with, making sure that all the schedules matched up. So thank you for that.
Of course.
as well.
Yeah, so I definitely have a few comments from what I observed and what I experienced. It was the Ontario Realtor Party Conference. Mm-hmm. The Ontario Realtor Party, again, it's newer. I saw the email last year or 2 years ago for the first event, the inaugural event.
Yes.
And I missed it. Mm-hmm. When this event came out 2 months ago, within 10 minutes, I signed up. How much doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got to go.
Click, I'm going.
Yeah.
Sure enough, the lineup there was tremendous. We enjoyed obviously you emceeing kind of the headliner where Tim actually interviewed George W. Bush in a conversation
That
that
was
was
very
just
cool. Very cool experience.
phenomenal. But Jean Chrétien was there.
Yeah.
The minister, the current minister that tabled the legislation that we're going to be discussing today was there. Her name.
Lisa Thompson. She's
Lisa-
from the Huron-Bruce area of the province.
Lisa Thompson was there, and she kind of explained everything that's happening at a high level that was being introduced actually the very next day. So we knew before the television news outlets knew what was happening. We
Sure.
were in the know of exactly what was being proposed. And like you really get a feeling of community. Like when you're in the industry, and you were mentioning that you guys are helping realtors with leadership and getting into nonprofit. I read it because I spent some time on the website after the conference.
Good.
There had never been more realtors elected. As a result of this training, more realtors that are running for city council or that are running for public office or committees, etc., at no time have there ever been more realtors being elected to those positions. And that's elected. It's not appointed.
Yeah.
That means that you're part of your community. Of course, we make our living interacting with people, and this is exactly why you see the realtor at the church, at the school, at everywhere. This is how you make your living. But it's not you're there with an agenda. This is your community. This is where you live.
We had Phil Soper on, president and CEO of Royal LePage Canada, and the Shelter Foundation went to Africa and raised $1.1 million just over, I think it was like a 90-day period or something like that. Like to raise that much money is really outstanding, and that's just a small little organization.
you're not doing
and
that
a small group. This happens right across the province, right?
And to his credit, Phil Soper and so many Royal LePage realtors, they like trek through the desert. Like they
that's
camped
what
out in the desert in Morocco.
All the
like,
stories he was telling.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, that was your cliffhanger episode last
Exactly,
season. And then I remember you left us hanging. The mummy came out of the sand, and he's running. And we'll find out what happens next season.
Yeah, so it was a very impressive conference. I thought our audience, knowing that we have almost 200,000 people across North America at this point, tuning in, whether on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, catching it on the media or podcast or YouTube channels. Both the consumer at this time needs to know the legislative changes, because they are being implemented to specifically protect them. In cases as the market has gone up and down so much over the last decade and a half since REBA,
True.
The last legislation was introduced 2002. REBA was. And this legislation is meant to build and improve that, not to take it down. It's outdated in the sense that we saw a market that took its apex in 2017 with multiple representation and all these things that were happening that turned our market into the Wild West. So I think that was a big catalyst for the governing bodies to really take a look at something needs to happen, and the initiatives and the organizations like OREA, like RICO, really have listened.
Is it
and they have driven those changes. So.
Is it a matter of, Tim, of just getting all the heads together to make such a big change? Because it's 18 years. So I've been licensed for 15 years. So I've only known REBA from since 2002.
It was fresh when we got our licenses.
Well, yeah, and so my question is how does a change like that happen? How does it all go down? And then I definitely want to talk about the changes.
Yeah, I mean, a ton of hard work and perseverance and good strategy. I mean, 2002 was a long time ago. I mean, that was, 5 years before the first iPhone came out. Most deals were done by fax machines. Like, we had fines that were set at 2002 housing levels. And what in a house in Toronto costed, I think, $245,000 in 2002. Or you can do doghouse for that today, right? So as a result, the fines were so low that some people, sadly, thought it was a slap on the wrist, so they took their chances in breaking the rules. So we said no more. So how do we do it? We basically said, you know what? Here's a change we made. Every time we go to Queen's Park, we meet with our decision makers. We take the consumer in there beside us, not hanging out in the back seat somewhere, right there in the passenger seat beside us. So when you talk to politicians, it's about how we're helping out that struggling millennial that you guys help out every day, right? She got her degree from U of T, she got a good job, can't find a place that she can afford, still stuck with mom and dad. Or in the GTHA, a lot of immigrants come from everywhere in the world telling the people to put their family ahead. They can't get in the housing market. So we would go to Queen's Park and say, we want to do this. And at the same time, we want to make sure when they buy their home, or if they're selling, the realtor at their side has the highest level of professional standards.
Love it.
That they invest in their training. They specialize. And if they break the rules, then there'll be strict discipline measures to get them back in line or kick them out of the profession
That's
altogether.
damn right.
And as a result, Premier Ford and Minister Lisa Thompson, you mentioned, said, you know what, we're going to do this.
Yes.
And they brought in that bill in late November, the day after our convention where they announced those initiatives.
So let's talk about those initiatives. What's some of the new changes that are going to be taking
Yeah,
place
I mean, number one on our list for our members, modern real estate tools like personal real estate corporations. It is nuts. It is wrong that realtors in Ontario.
Thank you.
Well, you know where I'm going with this, right? Other professions, accountants, insurance brokers, architects,
Even mortgage brokers were allowed.
mortgage
it.
brokers,
Yeah,
and quite frankly, they play important jobs. I want to diminish it, but they're not helping somebody, make the biggest purchase and sale of their lives when they're talking about a home. So the important role that realtors play, the emotional, financial, and the day-to-day life of hardworking, ordinary Canadians, we said they should have the same tools. So Premier Ford listened. He put it in this legislation, and now we can join other professions in 6 other provinces to have personal real estate corporations. That will allow realtors to invest back in their businesses, to improve their customer service, to hire more people. We're very excited about it.
Only because this specific point is so misunderstood.
Yeah.
This is about tax fairness. It's tax fairness, meaning that if you're investing money back into your business, you're going to get that credit back with the government at the end of the year. So tax fairness is huge because you cannot operate a business or grow your business the same way someone else can that has those advantages. What it's not, and this is kind of where I would love you to just say a few words on this. This is not every dollar you spend, you can just chuck into your corporation. It has to be responsible. It's with guidelines. Speak a little bit about how that personal corporation would work.
Yeah, I mean, if you take it out, you pay taxes on that, but you have to put it into types of investments or benefiting your business. So a big change, like if you're going to buy some new technology, you're going to buy new equipment, you do a marketing initiative, you can use that now as a business expense under these, which means more of our realtors will invest. For teams, like yourselves, if you're part of your own corporation, that means income splitting can be allowed in families. Your spouse is helping you out on the business. That makes a big benefit.
Well,
At
he's
the
like
end of
my
the day,
spouse anyways. and
you
vice
can see
versa.
very
It's
close.
the same thing.
You can see the way you banter back.
You always say I'm the wife you never needed, the second wife.
The wife I never wanted.
The wife you never wanted.
So when you see our realtors investing in the new technologies, new marketing materials, et cetera, that's better customer service. That's more information, faster, more accurate. So it's going to improve as well.
For sure.
The benefit of the consumer out there.
Well, I love the fact that you said you can also help teams like us grow and employ others. So we're obviously in the process of growing out our media division, growing out our marketing, our administration. It allows us to employ more people now, which also kind of keeps everything the cycle going.
100%.
Right? And you hire more people, we can provide better customer service and more taxes. They're going to pay more taxes. It keeps the system going, right?
More people working, the more taxes come into the government.
What's some other changes that got made?
Yeah, another big one is fixing the broken real estate disciplinary system. It makes realtors, I know like you guys, really upset if they see somebody who takes advantage of a consumer, breaks a code of ethics, and they just get a slap on the wrist. No more. This will give RICO's discipline committee the greater ability to suspend licenses, to pull licenses and kick people out who break the rules altogether. You're nodding, Jas, like I see realtors everywhere, they say it's goddamn time this happened, right? We're frustrated with this.
100%.
It also doubles the fines, and it enables RICO also to do administrative penalties for smaller offenses, more like tickets.
Got it.
That way they can focus their resources on the bad operators and get them out.
I love it. I want to speak about, because I know you guys touched on this at the conference as well, and I did miss the conference. And so talking about supply and demand in our city. So what's your thoughts on what's going on? How could we help, or how could the demand side of the equation be taken care of? Like what has to happen? What's your thoughts around this,
we
Tim?
had 2 really big missions last year in 2019. Number one was getting our legislation passed. We talked about that. I'll add one more thing.
Yes.
And the second part, obviously, is more housing supply, helping keep that Canadian dream of home ownership alive for the next generation.
More choice, yeah.
The last part of TRESA, the Trust and Real Estate Services Act, that's the new REBA, TRESA, is specialty certification. So if a realtor is holding herself out as a commercial expert or a specialist in waterfront, the new legislation will say, well, you got to back that up with something. You got to take courses or your book of business. You got to prove that you're a specialist before you can claim that. A lot like with lawyers, right? Lawyers can practice in any area, but if they say they're a labor specialist or a family law specialist, then the regulator says, okay, you got to do A, B, and C. What I like about that, it's good for consumers who are
Yes.
always thinking about, but it also recognizes the work that realtors do to become specialists, to invest their time and their talents in certain areas. So it's a recognition of that.
Well, I think the consumers are going to like that too because it gives them some clarity, right? Like no more number one in the corner of walk and don't walk for the month of January of 2019, only between the 17th and the 18th day of January. Like, you know
The
what I
little
mean?
asterisk,
like that little
exactly.
asterisk. Maybe 5 asterisks or something like that. So I think there's going to give some clarity to the consumer when all these people are number one, right? And so I love the fact that you guys even went like right to the micro of that. You could tell there was a lot of effort and time put into this.
Clean it up.
Clean it up.
Yeah. So they want to see more details, go to OREA.com. They can check it all out there on the housing supply. You know, we actually went to the government. We worked with all 4 political parties in the run-up to the last provincial election. That was in 2018. People can still see this. Go check out keepthedreamalive.ca. And it showed the real-life agony of a young couple. They finally find a place working with the realtor. They really want it. But when they look at all the costs and taxes, their dream is shattered. They even picture where the crib's going to go and the kids' room and the playground in the backyard. It's really motivating. So you deal with this every day.
Yes.
Every day.
So, and then the tagline is, Ontario's 80,000 realtors want to keep the dream of homeownership alive. Contact your MPP. So we had 20,000 people that did that.
Wow.
Yeah, 20,000 that sent messages to their politicians. And as a result, they started moving. We then put about 10 ideas on the table to Premier Ford. He was elected, saying, here's things you can do to increase housing supply and choice. And as Simos just mentioned, that resulted our hard work and their initiative in the More Homes, More Choice Act, most groundbreaking pro-homeownership legislation we've seen in a generation in Ontario, and it passes past
We're
June.
still trying to get the minister on the show to discuss that.
Oh,
We
yeah?
spoke to his assistant. What was the gentleman's
Steve Clark,
name?
yeah.
Steve
Should have him
Clark,
on
and
for
he's
sure.
out of Kingston, I believe Kingston, Ontario.
Brockville area,
Brockville,
Kingston
yeah,
Way.
yeah.
And-
we made contact anyways. We're hoping to have him on.
And as I mentioned earlier, like I said, like to talk about the demand side, I really meant to talk about the supply side.
and
right?
this
is the
addresses
issue
it,
that
and this
we
addresses it
need.
direct.
We need to address the supply. What can you talk about some of the points? I don't know if we're allowed
Yeah,
to.
well,
Tim,
sure.
Okay.
We put 10 ideas on the table. They took 8 of them. So that's
Okay,
pretty good marks
that's awesome.
in my book. So here's some. I mean, in areas like Toronto and the more urban areas, the province of Ontario is rightly investing in more transit. Go Transit, the LRT, subways, great.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, you're doing that, putting tax money into it, but then we have to intensify around that. You got to build up along these lines. People are going to want that choice. And what if we actually put housing above subway and GO stations? Wouldn't that be good? A lot of people would say, hey, I'd kill for that, especially young people. You leave the park and the booths at home and head to the office and shopping. So that's one. Another one we did was secondary suites. We want to make it easier for people to do secondary suites, the granny flat, so to speak. This is good because we need more rental. There's no doubt about it. It gives more choice in the rental market. You don't have to be in big buildings downtown. That can spread out anywhere in the province. And third, if you're buying a house and you've got a secondary suite, you can pay that mortgage down 20 to 25% faster.
House hacking 101.
Exactly. House hacking
There,
101.
that's on your list.
And when you say secondary suites, you mean also like basement apartments in
Basement
general?
apartments
Got it.
above the garage,
Okay.
whatever.
Love it.
More rental, and that helps people pay back their middle class family mortgage faster.
It's exactly what we needed. I know how busy you are. We need to have you on for a lot longer than we were able to have you on today.
I just
know-
talk too much. That's all.
But you get in a room with us too. Between us three, yeah, we might have some problems. Tim, I can't stress enough how much of a pleasure it was to have you today. I really want to make sure that we're respectful of your time. We do need to do this again because I want to go into the other 7, well, really the other 4 points that got approved as well.
You bet.
Because this is exactly what our viewers and listeners are hoping for, is to have not only homes become more affordable, but to have more supply, and come up with ideas. And you're in the room, and we're actually very blessed that it's a guy like yourself because we know that you're very progressive. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, my pleasure, Jas and Simos. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here. I look forward to coming back. If you want to have me down the road if I pass my debut.
Oh, for sure.
We are so honored to have you here, Tim, and genuinely your insight and all your hard work is something the entire industry, I can definitely tell you, thanks you for your commitment to us. We're trying to make our industry better every day by leading with integrity and creating trust with our clients and leading with education. So a huge thank you for everything that you do.
And I just got told that we do have like 1 or 2 minutes, so I want to close it off with a couple of tips. So I'm going to start off with Simos because I don't want to put you right on the spot, Tim. So what's your one tip, my buddy, for entrepreneurs, real estate guys, whatever? You know how this goes. You've done this tons of times with us.
It's a new year. It's a new leaf. It's a new decade.
It's a song. It's a new year. It's a new something like that. Yeah. Anyways, go on.
Jesus.
You got to sing more of that. I don't recognize. I can't play name that tune, right?
Either.
Maybe I just made it up in my head.
My tip for sure is for everyone out there. There's a lot of changes in the marketplace. Pay close attention to your political leaders. Pay close attention to your city and everything that's happening. For everybody who's praying for entering home ownership, there's a lot of programs. There's a lot of incentives to take advantage of. For the investor out there, stay tuned when the legislation and people are working on creating ways for you to generate housing and be a landlord and a real estate investor. Adding secondary suites to a home is the cheapest renovation to extrapolate the largest return on investment from an investor standpoint. And you're creating housing and helping people live every day. So it is a great way to give to the community and make your financial dreams a reality. Pay close attention to the changing times, and we are going to see better days.
Love it. Mr. Tim Hudak.
My tip of the week is to develop lasting and trusting relationships. That helped me throughout my career from politics. It helped me in my career in real estate now with the association. I know that's part of the success for the folks here at the REC Experience too, right? Because you get that reputation, and you never know where you're going to need somebody. And you need information, you know where you can find it. Can I give a quick preview for my other tip? Come to our events. So this 2020, we're going to do a reality conference. So you really liked our politics one. February 25 to 27 down in Niagara Falls.
Okay.
If you want a sneak preview into where real estate is going in the future, that's the stage that you want to see. Seth Godin, very famous marketer, one of our keynotes. If people want to see more,
one of my favorite authors of
there
all
you go.
time.
Well, realityconference.ca, sign up.
It's funny because you said building relationships, and then you said Seth Godin. One of his my favorite books is Permission Marketing that he wrote. So it's a really cool tie-in. So we'll definitely be there.
100%.
We like Niagara Falls. We go there all the time anyway, so your hometown. Thank you for the invite.
You should broadcast from there. You could do a remote.
If you allow us, we can maybe do a live podcast.
You don't know
from
what
there
you
with
just did. You don't
opened
know
up
what
a
you
can
just
of
did.
worms, Tim. My tip for you guys, just talking about home ownership, is start the habit of saving, guys. It could be as small as 10% of your paycheck. Get started with that habit now. It might be like it's a small little 10% out of each paycheck, but you have to get started at some point. It is a habit. Get started. Pay yourself first. Gentlemen,
advice.
thank you. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I like that. Thank you.
Watch these wires here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. That's fun. Well, thanks, guys. A lot of fun.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jas Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.